To sew a monster, you need little bits of fabric. The biggest piece will be for the body. So put it down, put weights on, take tailor's chalk, draw around, and cut out first that body piece. And then you'll need another piece for the ears and the arms. You're going to want 4 arms, so if this is doubled, you can cut it out twice and get 4. Choose which type of ear you want, rounded or pointed, and then cut 4. And again, use the weights and tailor's chalk. You'll also need to cut out a face. You just need one for this. I like to use felt. And the last thing is the belly, and it doesn't have to be the same color, and a little nose. So cut out all those pieces, and then you're ready to thread your machine. Once your pieces are cut out, you'll want to put on the face and the belly on the bear. And just look at the original pattern to figure out where to pin it. It's your monster, so you can change it as you like it. Throw a few pins in so it'll stay. And then you're going to go sew them on with a zigzag stitch. To sew on the face and the belly, you're going to zigzag. There's 4 things you need to change on your machine. First is the foot. Press the red button so that the metal foot falls off. Put it in the bin so you don't lose it, and put on a plastic F foot. Then change the tension from 4 down to 3. Change the stitch type from straight to zigzag, the largest zigzag, and the stitch length from 2.5 to 1. Now you're ready to sew. Start anywhere on the circle of the face. You're going to line up the edge of the face, that fleece fabric, that felt, with the edge of the foot, and you're going to zigzag right on the edge of the gray fabric. It's a circle, so you're going to reverse when you get back to where you started. Whenever it feels awkward, you'll need to leave the needle in, lift the foot, pivot, make sure you put the foot back down, and continue. So to get around that circle, you'll have to pivot a few times. When you get back to where you started, do a few stitches reverse, and then we'll sew on the nose and the belly the same way. I've finished zigzagging around the edges of the face, the nose, and the belly. So now I'm ready to put on the eyes. If I'm going to sew them, I need to thread a needle and hand sew them on. You can pick 2 different colored eyes, put them in different places, because remember, it is a monster. You can put 2 buttons together to make it look like an eye that way, or you can glue on an eye. So decide which way you're going to go. If you're going to hand sew, which is the better way, do that now. Or if you're going to glue them on, you can wait and do it later. I'm going to glue these on, so I'll leave it. And now I need to sew the ears and the arms. So I need to change the machine back to the regular settings. I'm going to leave the clear foot on because it'll be easier to sew the curves, but I will change the tension from 3 back to 4, change the stitch type from zigzag back to straight, and change the stitch length from 1 back to 2.5. And again, I drew the line so I can see those curves better, and I'm not going to sew it on the 15 like I would for a sewing project. Because it's a craft, I'm going to sew it on the 1. So just as with the zigzagging, the edge of the flannel should be against the edge of the foot. Have it about 1 centimeter from the top, needle down, making sure you're going into fabric, stitch or 2, reverse it back to the end, but not off the edge, and then just try to sew on that line that you drew, having the needle about 1 centimeter from the edge of the fabric. I'll take that pin out. Whenever pins are in your way, just get rid of them. And then curve the fabric, maneuver it. Sometimes you have to lift the foot. If ever it feels awkward, you know you need to do some pivoting. Keep the needle in, lift the foot, but make sure you put the foot back down. So all the way around that curve. And notice I have the fabrics good to good. Get back to the end, reverse, lift a few, take it out. And sew all the pieces the same way, both ears, both arms. So I left an opening at all 4 pieces at the top so that I could flip them, both in the ears and in the arms. So leave the opening at the top, reversing at both ends. and then flip it. And then once they're flipped, you'll take that bit of stuffing and again, not too much, just a bit to give it a little volume, a little dimension. And then take that edge, that open edge, and sew it shut. Make sure it's meeting. And just stitch close to the edge of the fabric. Reverse at both ends. So that when you attach the pieces, you don't have to worry about that stuffing coming out. So decide where you want to put the ears and arms. I kind of like the ears spaced wider so it doesn't look like a bear. And you put them good side down and pin them because there's a curve. So you need to pin them so that the edges are together. And you'll have to watch that as you're sewing it on, that all edges of the ear are connecting with the edge of the body. And then the same thing with the arms. I kind of like the arms down far. Makes them look a little bizarre. Pin them on, so pin all four and carefully sew all four, just again 1 centimeter from the edge, pretty much over the stitching that you just did to keep the stuffing in. So the arms and ears are attached, and now I need to attach the back. So make sure the arms and ears are on the inside, put the back down so that good is to good, and put a lot of pins all around the outside. Line it up well. You'll want at least 12 pins all the way around. And when you're finished pinning, you need to mark where you will start and end sewing. You need to leave at least 8 centimeters open so that you have room to flip it and then stuff. So I've drawn all the way around where I'm going to sew because it does make it easier. Put the foot down where you're going to start, needle in, 1 centimeter away from the edge of the fabric, so the fabric is right on the edge of that foot. Start, reverse, take out pins whenever they're in your way, pivot whenever it feels awkward or uncomfortable. It'll be thick when you're sewing over the ears and the arms. Needle in, foot up to pivot, make sure the foot goes back down. Take your time because there's a lot of curves. But having the line to see to follow definitely makes it easier. And also having the clear foot. So just continue until you get back to the other mark. So okay, I'm back to where I drew that line. So I'm going to reverse, come back, take it out, cut the threads. So now I've sewn all the way from one side to the other, reversing at both ends. And now I'm going to flip it over to make sure that I didn't have any holes on the other side. Because sometimes, whether it's due to your cutting or your pinning, the edges won't quite meet and you'll have a hole. So you need to check everywhere to make sure the only hole that you do have is the one you left on purpose. And now you'll use that to flip the monster right side out. You have to kind of yank at it, at all the parts until you get it out. And then you're ready to stuff it. I like to put a bit of fabric stuffing in the head and in the body, and then I like to put a bit of rice or bean stuffing in the legs, just to make them a little heavier at the bottom. Once you get them all out, stuff them, and then we're going to have to get a hand sewing needle and hand sew that opening. Try to use the same color thread so that you don't see the stitching very much. And then we can glue on the eyes. And you can even glue on a little mouth if you like with a little piece of ribbon or rickrack tape. And then your monster is done.